Good morning, everyone. Good morning, all professionals that have joined us today. My name is Unathi Makinana. I am an auditor by profession. Welcome to our session. Welcome to our Public Interest Day. And I will be giving you the house rules for the day. Please do make sure that you remain on mute for the remainder of the session. You are welcome to share your camera if you'd wish to. And you can use the Zoom reactions at the bottom of your screens if there's something that is exciting you or that is of interest to you. Also, please feel free to ask questions in the chat box just in case you don't want to forget your questions. But we will have a Q&A session at the end of each presentation and at the end of the webinar. So you can use both options if you wish to. What we want to encourage as well is for you to participate in the session freely. It is an interactive session, so we want to hear your thoughts and views. Thank you so much for attending. And now, before I hand over to our governor in the Border Kei Region, Aluwani Ramashau, I just want to share a bit about Aluwani. He has over 18 years of experience in the internal audit. He is in the public sector. So he has 18 years of experience in that sector. And he is the governor of the Border Kei. And he's also a long-serving member of the Border Kei. He has over 7 years of serving the committee, which the 2 years of those 7 years, he has been the deputy governor. Now, he holds a BCom accounting degree and honors in financial accounting and a postgraduate in internal auditing. He holds the following professional designation. He is an IAT. He has PIA IATs, an internal audit technician. He is a PIA, a professional internal auditor, and a CFE, certified fraud examiner. He is currently a CIA candidate. I know he's very passionate about this, and he's currently actively recruiting everyone to be part of this journey that he's on of being a CIA. He also serves as a chairperson or served as a chairperson in the Eastern Cape Provincial Treasury Internal Auditors and Internal Audit Managers Forum, where he was very actively involved in ensuring that we share experiences and there are areas where we are finding common grounds in terms of combined assurance, in terms of data analytics. So he has been key in ensuring that we share knowledge around those areas. During his spare time, he enjoys playing chess and running. I wish that some of that running can rub off to me. He has accomplished notable athletics achievements, and including completing 2 Cape Town marathons and 5 Two Oceans marathon and 3 Comrades marathon. Guys, to you I bring Mr. Aluwani Ramashau. Over to you, Aluwani.
Thank you very much for that introduction. And yeah, I think I wanted to share my camera as well. I'm quite sure maybe Audit will assist us on that. I think let me say good morning to all of you. I understand today it's a different day altogether, wherein we are celebrating Public Interest Day. It's one of a kind. It never happened in the past. This is the very first, annual event we were having across the country. We are celebrating. It's not only Border Kei Region, and I'm proud that we as Border Kei Region, we opted to utilize this platform so that we can be able to assist or do an awareness on the key issue which we talk about, cyber security. I think maybe just go straight to the intro. I will then allow maybe Audit to give me an option where I can be able to share my presentation. I'm not going to be long because today we have guests who are specialized in this area or in this field of cybersecurity. But mine is just to give you a background why we are here. Audit, kindly maybe ensure that I can be also have a right, or you can be able to play the slide while we in the process. Yeah, I think as I indicated, today is the 24th of May, 2025. We are going to take you through on the purpose of this gathering. Maybe go to the next slide, Audit. Yeah, I think it's important, delegates, just to remind you the vision, what we stand for as the IIA SA, and also the mission. We are a trusted leader in the internal audit profession, and what is important here is that we are enabling the internal audit professionals to be recognized as a critical to improve and enhance and protecting organizational value and the public interest. And today we are celebrating public interest, which is part of our vision. And also just to remind delegates that the mission is to lead the evolution of the profession in its interest. And of course, the stakeholders and the society. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, the theme for today is creating a cyber secure community. It's not only for auditors, it's for everyone. We are saying the community at large. However, one should also give a background on why we opted for cybersecurity or this theme. According to the IIA Risk in Focus 2025 report, cybersecurity remains the highest risk in Africa region, and not only in Africa, but globally. Moving on to the next slide. This is risk in focus in 2025. As you know, auditors always believe in evidence. Therefore, we cannot just have a finding without evidence or effects. Therefore, in terms of the internal audit foundations, from time to time, they conduct a research or a survey. In terms of the risk in focus report, which was done last year, and then there was a consultation, internal audit leaders, your CAEs, including the audit committees, the board, risk officers, and 124 countries participated. And then in terms of the response, 3,544, these are the response. And that's wherein we come up with this theme or risk, which we call cybersecurity. Moving on to the next slide, without wasting any time. Yeah, cybersecurity has been number one in the risk forecast report for 2025. Therefore, we are providing an awareness in order to make sure that we address this issue of cybersecurity. If you can check last year, 2024, cybersecurity at 73%, and this year, which is 73%, and in the next 3 years, still maintain that cybersecurity is something which needs to be attended to. That's why IIA SA opted to have a public interest day and focusing on cybersecurity. We have guests who will then outline what is cybersecurity. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, I think I'm not going to say much. It's the inauguration day, which is a public interest day. And therefore, we are saying this is going to be done on an annual basis. And we are also celebrating Internal Audit Awareness Month. And therefore, I felt that it's important that just to give you a background and also just updates on what is happening within Border Kei region. The next slide will be just to give you a background or an update, as we already saying, we are celebrating Internal Audit Month, not necessarily in South Africa, but it's the international awareness. Therefore, in terms of the international, they're saying no risk management without me. Therefore, let's check what this, as a proudly South African, we are saying. Let's move on to the next slide, just to give you an overview. We are saying that we are trusted organizations must trust internal auditors. These are certain information which we want to share with you to make sure that you do promote internal audit or market internal audit during this month of May. Moving on to the next one, just to an update in terms of the CIA, as Unathi already said, we need to have this designation. This is the highest designation in the profession, which is a CIA. There are some changes if you are intending to be writing exams for CIA Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. Therefore, the new there will be a launch on the 28th of May. Therefore, for those of you who are intending to write, you'll be utilizing the old syllabus or the old standards as of the 27th of May. But anything after the 29th, you'll be, exempt on the global internal audit standards. As you know that the global internal standards kickstarted on the 9th of Jan. Moving on to the next one. Yeah, we are celebrating Internal Audit Awareness Month. Therefore, there is a sale, or we can say a sale in the CIA in terms of massive discount. We are giving a 25% discount. We are encouraging all of you, not only, even including the students, there is a discount also for students. There's also discounts for those ones who are already in the field. These are certain benefits which we can take note of. Moving on to the next one, just felt that it's important that we are aware of that. For those of you who are still in the varsity, tertiary institution, there is a Siakula campaign, which we are saying, encouraging you to join. It's a student membership program, and it's for free. For those information, we'll be sharing with you in the chat box. But we are encouraging Forte University, Rhodes University, Nelson Mandela University, and Walter Sisulu University, including UNISA in our region here in East London, to join. Currently, we are sitting at 1,000, but we are saying there is more. And if we can tell you, Walter Sisulu have 1,500 internal auditors. Therefore, we can make sure that we double the number. Let's move on to the next one, because of time. It's very important that for those of you who are members, please renew your membership. As we know that as from the 1st of June 2025, the new financial year starts. Therefore, I encourage all the ones who from the organization. For those of you who haven't joined, please join the IIA SA. There are a lot of benefits in there. Move on as we conclude. We are available in the social media. Stay in touch with us. Facebook. Can safely say that early this morning we're sitting at 118. I'm saying after this session, let's try and make sure that we have 120, a milestone in the Facebook, and also check us on the LinkedIn account page. Therefore, for more information, we always update on a regular basis. Yeah, that's more like it. I think it's very important to know the vision for internal audit global in 2035. It's saying we are creating future together. But I always like this phrase to say, I'm an internal auditor. I am the future. And I believe that all of us, we are internal auditors and we are the future. That's why we're having this awareness today to ensure, to empower you, to encourage you, to ensure that you know what is happening around the cyber security. I think that's it for me. The last one is just to celebrate these two. I think thank you very much. Over to you, Unathi.
Thank you so much, Aluwani. Thank you for that briefing from the governor's table. I think you've had valuable information that we need to ensure that we also progress in our careers and in the profession. Now we're going to have Dr. Memory Ranga, who is a senior IT auditor who holds the following qualifications. She has a PhD in IT, specializing in IT governance, CISA, Certified Enterprise Architecture and Change Management. And she is a practitioner with more than 15 years of experience. She is currently assisting various departments within the Eastern Cape in conducting their ICT audits and consulting engagement. Capitalizing on her proven expertise and hands-on experience in executing security governance, risk assessments, compliance, conducting security audits, assessing effectiveness of controls, ISMS, data privacy, incident response, and cyber operation, Dr. Ranga successfully provides consultation for large enterprise security projects in various government departments within South Africa. In striving to continually raise cybersecurity awareness, Dr. Ranga has dedicated time, like now, in providing academic institutions and government sectors her experience and knowledge in the field. She is a committee member of the ISAC, IA, ISACA Cape Region Board. We can't wait to gain knowledge from you, Dr. Ranga. We can't wait to learn from you so that we are wiser when we're dealing with technology. Over to you, Dr. Ranga.
Okay. Good morning, colleagues, and thank you, Unathi, for the introduction. And I would like to just start by thanking everyone who has taken time on a weekend to join the cybersecurity awareness and the session that we're having. And so today I'll jump into the presentation. I'm going to be talking about cybersecurity threats and the emerging risks. And as you have heard from the introduction by the governor, cybersecurity has become a key thing, like a key risk. Every risk register, as an internal auditor, you need to make sure that every risk register has a cybersecurity risk, be it a strategic level and also at operational level. Because looking at the stats, we are not as safe as we think. So in this focus area on this presentation, I'm going to be talking about the common cybersecurity threats and attack vectors, and also the role of the employees in maintaining a secure environment, because they say you're only as secure as the next person. So if I become a vulnerable person to the network, then I affect the whole organization, and we're going to be talking on that. And yes, we're talking about cybersecurity, but what is the role of auditors in cybersecurity? What's the role are we going to be playing in this, considering that we are internal auditors and we are the future? And most organizations, or where we come from, everyone looks up to us to provide the solutions or the recommendations in terms of what we need to do next. So we are going to be talking about that. And lastly, we're going to be talking about the different resources that are available for cybersecurity awareness and training. We can just move to the next slide. So I just put here key questions that, as top management, as internal auditors, as people that use technology every day, we need to ask ourselves. And so the first question is, what are the key assets that require protection within our organization, within our department, within our municipality, within our bank? How are they being protected, these assets? Do we know them? If the answer is yes, then how are we protecting them? Who is responsible for protecting them? And what level of security is considered acceptable? How much risk can we accept? How much cyber risk can we accept as an organization? And how will the department respond to a major cybersecurity incident? So if in your organization, as you're sitting, you don't know these things, then the risk is increasing exponentially. You are like the next target for the cybercrime to take place. But then at least now from this session, we'll be able to know exactly what we need to look at. So the next thing we're going to talk about is then, okay, we're saying there's cybercrime, there's cybersecurity, but what really is cybercrime? Now, before technology took over, people would go into banks with the baklavas, the face covers. They would go with guns, and people now hardly do that. They can steal money even just sitting in their homes. And I'll just give one example of the public works. It was noted from May 2024 that over the past decade, public works, the department lost over 300 million in cybersecurity cybersecurity crime. And how did this happen? Someone notified or saw that they were the soft target, or they saw that there was a way that they could take money. And obviously, they did not take all of it at once. They'll take and take and take. So imagine if 100 people, if you have a bank account and there's an attack, and all the people that are banking with Standard Bank or FNB, the attacker is taking R1 a day from that person. Sometimes you might not notice the rand, but accumulated, that money can lead to millions and billions, just because there was just one vulnerable machine, or there was just one opening in the network. So when you talk about cybercrime, just remember the crime that used to happen when people would come and take you at gunpoint. That is the same thing that is happening in cybercrime. But the only difference is now people do it with technology. And here I just have a cartoon that I put in place to say sometimes we don't even know what cybercrime is. But so here is a man and his wife. They were talking about a cybercrime, and they were watching an episode. And what I like on this cartoon is, you can go to the next slide, because they were now so conscious. They were told that there's cybercrime, there's cyber espionage, and at the end the power went out, and they thought, is this a cybercrime attack? But what I like is there was awareness raised in them. Then what do we mean by cybercrime? So cybercrime has different ways that it can happen. Like I said, just think of the criminals or the armed robbers that would go to banks. So it's the same thing. When you talk about cybercrime, it includes unlawful access to your computer system, cyber extortion, whereby people get hold of your data and they threaten to release it. And they say, if you don't give us money or this certain amount of money, we're going to release this data. Sometimes there's, because remember, now we're working on systems, and everything that we have is sort of collected in the different systems that we have. We have financial systems, we have payroll systems, we have, for engineers, they have different types of systems. So there's a lot of data going around. And now data is the new currency. So if you have data, you can improve or even share. Imagine what happens if the data for Apple is taken by Windows. They would really improve and take their strategy. So data is so important. So there's data. It's one crime in cybercrime is data exploitation, whereby people now they sort of, in simple terms, you can say they kidnap your data and they want to give you money. And then another example of cybercrime is cyber fraud, whereby someone impersonates yourself and act like it's you, and creating. So the same way we would fraudulently sign signatures on paper is the same thing that can also happen. But the only difference is now these crimes are happening electronically. And we also have the cyber warfare. Now, cyber warfare, this is whereby now it's including the whole country or the whole national data, whereby national security is compromised. People attack the airport, people attack the intelligence, trying to get access to what is happening in the country. Of course, people would do it manually before, but now because everything is automated, they would know if they are targeting the president, they would know that the flight for the president is available, is coming at this time. They'll listen into their conversations, they'll check these whereabouts in terms of the GPS. So there's a lot that can happen in terms of this cyber warfare. So sometimes we may not be seeing guns and shooting all around us, but there is cyber warfare happening, whereby these utilities are taken through the disruptions of the vital systems that are happening. So if we go, and this is just an example of that one there, the public works example that I gave, we can move to the next slide. Now, in terms of cybercrime, maybe you might be thinking, okay, I'm talking about government, I'm talking about big people, but everyone is a target for cybercrime. Your computer, your device, your account, they contain sensitive information, your bank account details, all your personal details. Now, if someone gets hold of that personal detail, then they can go and impersonate, or they can even commit fraudulent activities using your details or your login details. So you are a target for cybercrime, and we all need to be diligent and make sure that we enforce cybersecurity wherever we are, be it in our audit space or even within our homes. So normally a victim is compromised by friends and family in their network. We have seen there was a rampage that was happening whereby people would get hack the WhatsApp, and then they go into the different groups into which you have joined. And then these hackers will then take information from these groups and then start hacking the other people. So that's why we're saying we are only as safe as the next person, or the next person who is in your network. So we are all targets of cybercrime, and we need to be diligent in terms of ensuring that we adhere to the cyber security regulations or cybersecurity aspects that we can do. But we're going to talk about the different, how then do we keep ourselves secure from these attacks? We can go to the next slide. Now, these are some of the common cybersecurity threats and attacks. So we have malware. So, okay, these are then ways in which you can protect yourself from cybersecurity, or I mean from cybercrime. These are some of the cybersecurity aspects that you can put in. You can have an antivirus in the form of malware, or spyware, which checks in terms of your computer or in terms of your device who is using, who has gotten information. So people come in and they spy. So for protecting yourself, then you put in an anti-spyware a technique, which then blocks everyone else from spying into or from eavesdropping into the information that you have. Safe internet and email usage. I don't know how much I can emphasize this. If you have not entered a competition and you receive an email saying you have won, why do you open that email? Why do you open that link? Sometimes, of course, as human beings, we are tempted, but those links, like you have won, if you have not entered a competition, don't open those, because when you open, either you're opening a link that will give access to the hackers, and you become the weakest link either within your organization or within your own family. Some people have family networks whereby we share accounts. So let's protect our workplace and family from unwelcome or unsafe content by just avoiding clicking and opening things. If you don't know who this email is coming from, just don't open it. Let's try and kill that human urge that says, open, let's see, because the moment you see, you're actually opening the door for the hackers or for the cyber criminals to come and get your banking details, to come and get your financial details, to come and get the department information, the municipality information, or any information that you might be having. So we need also to enhance our account security. Do not just use any passwords. And now hackers, they know that people like to use the passwords of their first name and their surname, and they add 1, 2, 3, 4, or they use their firstborns or their mother's names. So obviously when people target you, they'll look at even your social media, they'll look at your social styles and try and see what are the things that you like and what are the things that you're likely to put in as password. So let's put in strong passwords. And even as internal auditors, when we audit, these are also some of the things that we need to look at. But we're going to talk more in this as we go. What are the key things that we need to be looking at? Because a strong password will make sure that no one can just easily get access to your machine or to your account. And also there's physical security. Protect data on the premises where you are. On your laptop, you need to have maybe a pattern, a password. Don't just leave your devices anyhow. And lastly, we need to have policies and trusts that address this cyber security, that cyber attacks, and how can you protect ourselves from them. We have policies and acts like the POPI Act is there to protect us from these cyber attacks. So now if we take these things for granted, and I'm happy I'm talking to internal auditors, these are some of the key controls that we can check. Do we have an anti-spyware in this organization? What malware are we using? What kind of account configurations are we having? So these are the conversations that we need to be having as internal auditors, and just move from checking, okay, do you have a password? Yes, I have a password, but is it a strong password? So these are key things that we need to ask ourselves and also audit as we go in terms of this cybersecurity. We can move to the next slide. So now, what is meant by a threat or an attack vector? Now, attack vector is a way in which these attackers enter into your network. And like I've already said, they include social engineering, credential theft, vulnerability exploits. Now, on this vulnerability exploit, they look at the weakest link. So like in this case, the attack vector was phishing, and they looked at the weakest. So there was one employee that was not updating their software, that was not taking the patch updates that were coming from Microsoft. They became the weakest link. And when the hackers saw this, they then attacked the whole network, and innocent people will suffer. Some people have even lost jobs. Some people have even lost, like this department has lost millions, which could have been used to improve the country's infrastructure, but it was stolen simply because there was a weak point on the network. We can move to the next slide. So this is just a storyline that I gave. So in this storyline, there were two people, Miss Kumalo and Slack. Miss Kumalo and Slack were working in a department, and there was a job vacancy there for the senior admin manager. And Miss Kumalo, what she did, I'm just summarizing this cartoon. So what Miss Kumalo did was, when this announcement was made by their boss, he said, I need everyone the two of you, to come and do a presentation. We can go to the next slide. And the person with the best presentation is going to get the post. So Miss Kumalo sat in the office and she started working on a presentation. And we have this guy here, he's just sitting, slacking around, playing games, he's not doing anything. And then the next morning, he knows that Miss Kumalo is hardworking, and obviously she has a presentation. What does he do? We can go to the next slide. He goes to Miss Kumalo's office. And because Miss Kumalo has put her password on the wall, memo password is fluteball. This guy managed to go into Miss Kumalo's email. Yes, the password was strong. Yes, she might have logged her computer, but the password was just there. And I've seen a lot of people in the office, they like posting their passwords, say, no, I forget them. I forget them. We are putting ourselves at danger. So the long and short of this story, this guy went in, managed to log into the Miss Kumalo's laptop, took the presentation. And then when it was time to present, this guy offered to present first. And he took the presentation from this lady, Miss Kumar, and he got the job. And Miss Kumar could not hold it. She was disqualified because she could not even present. She didn't have anything. But she could have avoided this by not keeping a password in public. Yes, it was strong, but don't post it anyway. Or don't tell your friends, no, me, I just have one password. They may not make use of the information now, but there might be a time when they'll feel like, okay, I need something from your laptop. Or maybe they want to do a malicious activity. They will log in using your account and transfer funds from the organization using your account. And then you become you become the person who's committed the crime, not because you did it, but because your credentials were used. So we need to be diligent in terms of how we keep our password. How a password is a personal thing that you don't need to be sharing or putting and posting it everywhere. And even when we do awareness within our organizations as auditors, we need to emphasize on this. Not only checking is the password strong, but is it secured in the way in which it is kept? And we can move to the next slide. So we need to develop. Remember, we said we are the internal auditors. We are the future. And we need to start building this culture within our organizations so that even when we do audits, even when we speak to IT, we might not know the exact steps that they need to do, but we need to build a picture as to they need to know exactly what is it that they need to do. So in organizations, there are two things that we need to do. There's need to build security awareness, and there's also need to talk about security behavior and culture. And there's this phrase is recently abbreviated as ABC: awareness, behavior, and culture. People might be aware, but if the behavior is not matching, then your organization can be put at risk by just one person. So when you talk about security awareness, even in our audit plans, even in our audit procedures, we're talking about, does someone know about the cyber threats and the severity of it and the best practice to mitigate it? So it's not just having awareness sessions, but we want to know, is there a way, is everyone aware of the best practice to mitigate that? And then when we talk about security behavior, does someone perform the actions that create a risk or reduce it? So we might be having mitigating factors, but if they are not implemented by our behavior, then we are at risk also. So are we raising awareness in terms of this, cutting away from the behavior of clicking emails, just opening everything? And across the organization, what risk are people creating or reducing? So when we look, so even in our audit plans, especially in the IT audits, we need to be talking about these three things. What is the security awareness that is being done? What behavior has been instilled from top management to everyone else? Do we have a security culture that we have built within our organization? So it's more than just having a password. It's the behavior and the culture that we are building within our organization. We can move to the next slide. So we need to raise awareness. So raising awareness also is not likely to just stop becoming, our organization from becoming a victim, but the behavior is what actually helps the organization. Like in this case, like I said, we appreciate people joining, and obviously you are aware, even your behavior, you are not really inquisitive or just clicking and opening things. If it doesn't concern you, just don't open it. If you don't know the sender, don't open it. And now I like Gmail. It also gives you a banner, a yellow banner below. If that email has a banner, is it coming from a trusted supplier or is it coming from a trusted sender? If no, then don't open, just delete, and you protect yourself and your organization from a lot of harm that might happen. We can move to the next slide. So I've already spoken about the issue of passwords, email phishing, and also adhering to the information security management policies. They are there. As an auditor, you need to know which policies, which ICT policies are there within your organization. Do they have a cybersecurity policy? Or are they implementing it? Avoid public Wi-Fi. We know we like free things. When you get to the airport, you just connect. When you're connecting, you don't even know the keys that are there or who now has access to your network, who now has access to your phone. Be careful of social media. What you post might even be hints on what the next person can come and attack. And sometimes it may not really be, sometimes you take it for granted. For example, if you post on social media every move that you take, so people will know Memo has left your house, Memo has gone on flight. And people may not really even come as cyber attacks, but once they get the information from social media, they'll know there's no one at my house, then they'll come and steal at my house. So cybersecurity covers, and it's a lot. Kids have been kidnapped because their parents were posting them on social media. It's not bad to post, but you have to exercise caution when we post. We need to stay informed and stay alert in terms of the updates that Microsoft is giving if we're working in a Microsoft environment, or any other updates that are coming within our network, so that we stay updated on antiviruses. We can move to the next slides. I've already talked about this in terms of the strong passwords, in terms of the phishing of emails. So we can move to the next slide now that talks about the role of internal auditors. Okay. Now, as we have said, we are the future. We are the ones that bring evolution into our workplace. We have just moved from just coming in and say we say internal audit saying this. People take our recommendations seriously. So the role that we need to take is for us to give guidance to IT, to give guidance to the organization as large. And these are some of the things that we can include in our audit plans or audit scope. How do we assess our security controls? Before, we used to have the audits for just the server room, but now we need to move further. We need to look at, are the firewalls within our within our organization, what kind of access controls do we have? Over and above this password, do we have encryption? Are our computers using encryption? Do we have patch management processes? Is there a network segment? Do we have intrusion detections? Do we have intrusion prevention system? So we move over and above by just checking, are they there? We also check, are they working and how are we implementing them? So meaning, as internal auditors, we need to have more knowledge in terms of this so that when we go to the auditing, we know exactly what to test. In our risk management and risk assessment, we saw the presentation from the governor. As an internal auditor, make sure that your strategic risk register and your operational risk register, they speak on something to do with cybersecurity, because no one is safe. So these are the things that we need to look at when we do the reviews of the risk register. Are we including cyber risks? What kind of cyber risks are we willing to accept within our organization? Is it documented? Is it prioritized? Which mitigating controls have we put in place? And we also need to check in terms of incident response plans. Yes, a vulnerability might occur, or an attack might occur, or we might have a machine that is vulnerable. Yes, it has happened. How quick does my organization respond to this incident? Do we have an incident response plan in place? Do we have a plan that will quickly close that gap, or we don't even have a plan at all? So in our reviews, as we audit, we need to be asking ourselves these questions. We need to be asking IT these questions. We need to be asking top management these questions. Do we have documented our roles and responsibilities? Yes, remember we said we have moved from just having an incident management plan or incident procedure. Is it being implemented? Do we have these roles and responsibilities? Is it tested at some point? So these are some of the things that we need to be looking at as auditors. Evaluate the recent incident handling techniques that IT is using. And then we also need to review the access controls of the different applications that we have. And over and above the applications that we have, we also need to look at, if we have a website, who has access to this website? Because most of the attacks that are happening, our websites become the weakest link, because we just open them there and you put a lot of information on the websites to the to everyone who has access. Yes, we'll be trying to advertise, but is it secured? Is the information put in such a way that no one can move from the website into the network for the domain? Are we using multi-factor authentication in terms of our access? Do we review access logs? Who has access to what data? Is it in line with their job description? So those are some of the things that we need to be asking ourselves as auditors, even when we go and audit. And this will help to prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data and systems. And remember, we spoke about cyber exploitation, whereby now people want money because of their data. So if we have strong access controls, then no one will even illegally gain access to our data. And then we need to monitor the data protection practices. We need to have encryption policies. We need to have data classification policies, and the backup and recovery procedures, and the testing also needs to be done, because all these things, they might not look like they're cyber security related now, but if your backups are just there and they're not encrypted, they're not protected, if someone gets hold of that backup, then they can steal the organizational data. So we need to just move from Is the backup tested? Can the backup be restored? How secure is this backup? If we're keeping it on cloud, how secure is our cloud storage? How do we ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of our data whilst it's sitting on the cloud? These are things that, as auditors, we need to make our organizations aware of them. And then we need to increase awareness and all the other things. Promote security culture. I've talked more on that. We can move to the next slide. And then in summary, these are some of the things that we need to be looking at. And I've also put in some sources that if you are interested, you can read more. We can move to the next slide. We can read more on cybersecurity and cyber attacks. And I've just put a little bit of videos that you can also have access to. Thank you so much. I hand back to the presenter.
Wow, thank you very much, Doc. Dr. Ranga, very insightful. We'll have an opportunity to ask questions at the end. Therefore, it's important that you take some notes and also utilize the chat box. I think it's appropriate now that we move on to the next speaker, who is going to take us through. We are very privileged delegates to have the Vice President here with us. I'm just going to quickly, just to give you a bit of a background in terms of what you have achieved. The next speaker is the Vice President of ISACA, South African chapter. He is currently a PhD candidate in digital transformation and holds an MBA degree, BSc honors degree in computer science, and BSc degree in mathematics and computer science. He is a CISA certified with audit, leadership, and management experience. In 2019, ISACA South African chapter awarded him with Tichano Zororo Excellent Award for contributing to IT. He was ISACA South African chapter certification and training director in 2020 to 2022, and a membership director from 2022 to 2024. He is an IT audit professional for a financial service organization and has over 10 years extensive work experience in IT audit, talking about IT, GC, cybersecurity, application controls, project assurance, the list goes on. He is also a Black Management Forum Soweto chairperson and has served as a treasurer and also served as head of youth development in Chiawero Youth Forum. He has worked as consultant in one of the big four audit firms providing services to mining, finance, public sector, and telecommunication, and currently working at financial service organization. He has a public sector audit experience. Ladies and gentlemen, he is also a coach. Allow me to welcome Mr. Mwango Libusa, the Vice President of ISACA SA chapter. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Just I don't know if you can see me, but thank you very much for the introduction. I did see that you did okay, so you did okay, maybe just a minute. Okay, so apologies, because yeah, so I think there's a certain situation that I'm trying to manage here, but thank you very much for allowing me to come and present here. Maybe just for all of us to be in the same page, I do believe that we have learned quite a lot from the first presenter in terms of cybersecurity. So I'll also be continuing in that regard, just to make sure that we all are basically equipped with the enough knowledge of cybersecurity. I'm just trying to, I want to try and actually put the background. So apologies. No, thank you, thank you. I think just to, while I'm trying to put the background, apologies. I had an emergency that I had to deal with, but okay. So then in terms of my, maybe can you just basically go to the first slide while I'm trying to sort out the first slide, first slide. Yeah, so the first one. Okay, so that's basically, if we can just go back a bit. Okay. All right, okay. Okay, so the agenda that I'll actually cover here, I'll actually look at the background overview of cybersecurity and some of the trends and also insights in terms, obviously, of cybersecurity, and also give you a bit of a detail around the terminology that I use in cybersecurity and how to also stay safe online. Then maybe go to the second slide. Okay, so on this slide here, so what I have here, it's basically just a basic definition of what cybersecurity is about, which is about technologies, processes, and practices that are designed to ensure that the information assets of the organization, it is actually safeguarded. So this includes your computers, networks that we all use, and even the computer programs or softwares that we use, and also data from impact related to unauthorized access, alteration or modification, and also availability. So with cybersecurity, is to ensure that the information of the organization is actually preserved, so around confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So I'm sure we all get exposed to data. So we basically use data in almost any way, whether it can be in a social front or in any way in our lives. So it is actually very important that we take into account the issue, obviously, of cybersecurity, because information is compromised. It can actually be accessed by those that are not supposed to access that data. I don't know, Program Director, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I just want to sort out the background thing, because normally some of us were used to using Teams. I'm trying to see if I can navigate and edit and share if maybe you can just assist me on your side. Where do I go to edit the background?
Okay, I think Audit will be able to assist on that.
Okay.
Audit, yeah.
All right.
But
Yeah.
I think you can proceed.
All right. Okay. So then, okay, you can go to the next slide. So in terms of cybersecurity, so there's different actors that are actually involved in ensuring that data gets compromised. Some of this threat, it comes basically in different forms. Some obvious, and obviously others are not. You can't actually pick it up. I'm sure you have heard of many threats that, or any attacks that have happened in many organizations. So the biggest one that we normally sort of play down very often is the inside threat attackers, which are your employees, the third parties, and also those individuals that are actually trusted. I'm sure you know with employees, there can be a situation where employees, they're no longer going to be working for that company. Maybe they're disgruntled. So they can also compromise the organization. And also it can be that particular employees, they are just basically having access to data where they see an opportunity of using it to enrich themselves. And third parties, vendors, we all know that third parties often are given access to the organization's information assets or data. So it is very important that when such organizations are no longer providing the services, that access, it is actually managed or controlled, because if it's not managed, then that can be an issue. Or even while they are within the system, to be able to monitor them, just to ensure that vendors don't compromise the organization. We know of hackers. I think our previous speaker did actually dwell much on hackers, what hackers is all about and what they can do. And cyber criminals, these are guys obviously that just focuses obviously on committing crimes using online actually means. Né? And then you've got some governments, foreign governments or intelligence agency. I'm sure you probably might have picked our head that there was a time when the president's communication was actually intercepted. I think it was alleged that one of the African countries, which I won't mention, that they did intercept that particular they did intercept that communication. So, and even you are Russia, you've heard of them in the US elections, how involved they were. And even this thing where China often it's being seen as a threat to the US because of their TikTok and so forth and so forth. So the attackers can come in various forms, and also for terrorism, organized crime, and also the activists. So if you can just go to the next slide. All right. So what are these threat seekers looking for? So what is so special about that they go all out in order to ensure that they compromise organization? So these threat actors, they obviously want data and also some privileged data or privileged information, such as secrets, and even that often they can actually extort money from organization. I'm sure with ransomware, you might have be aware of certain organization where they were blackmailed in order to provide some money for their data to be released. But mostly it's basically about trying to make money through basically this data and also secrets. So imagine all your data that you have in your phone, not just in your phone, maybe the data that the public service organization, let's say you are simple the municipalities where they've got information about you, the rates and tax and all this information that they have about you. So that information, if it can be intercepted, it can actually be used to compromise and even often lead to basically any cyber activities where those that get compromised, that data can actually be used to even defraud them. I'm sure you've seen with also messages that you get from your other banks where it looks like it's coming from the bank when it's not even coming from there. So they're also looking for the credentials to access the systems, because if they get credentials like username and password, they will be able to log in and do as they want. So obviously, provided that they've got access to administrative accounts in that regard, and they're also seeking sensitive companies' data, which I spoke about. Imagine if you, let's say there's a formula for Coca-Cola, it is kept in some storage or in the it is actually stored in some storage facility, which obviously uses or provisions through technology. So if they've got access to that formula, they can be able to use it, let's say, and really create an imitation of Coke that is like 100% like Coke. So, and even sensitive information within the organization that is classified that is not supposed to be used or be accessed by anyone outside the organization. And then you've got also the protected health information. I've indicated that also the health facilities have got information that we all need to, it belongs to various stakeholders that if received, it can also compromise and credibility of that profession. Credit card and banking information, We've seen it. We've seen that there's a lot of crime that is committed also around there, and export controlled technologies and intellectual property and sensitive technological documents. So the IP of the organizations, if obtained through cyber means, it can also lead to whoever track attackers to use it in order to benefit themselves. And you also have your personal identification information, the contact list, as I've indicated that data is actually gold. If one is able to access emails, phone directories, etc., they can be able to use it either maybe for marketing purposes, which can be for their own benefits, obviously, as I've indicated that everything is not just done for the sake of doing it, but is to benefit whoever who is the attacker or who's got the data. And the purpose is always based on, there's also a purpose and objective of acquiring or such data. And confidential emails, I think I've dwelt on it about emails that indeed one needs to have that. So I've just put some global study in terms of the breaches. There's been quite a high number of breaches. I'm sure you did see locally that there's actually a high breach that in terms of the company that gets compromised or that gets breached because obviously they get compromised, but for often it can actually be uh, uh, for those ones that even have both automation and those that don't actually have. So it doesn't mean that if you are or if you've got automated technologies or you automated your processes, you can be compromised. You can be compromised. And the same obviously is applicable to those ones that are still using the manual processes. So can you go to the next slide? Okay. So this is just some of them, the main root causes. So if you see here from our slide, so we can actually see that indeed malicious or criminal attacks are basically cause for most of the data breaches. And also you can see there's a human element, which is an error that a human can make errors, and there can be system glitch that constitute or as composition to some of these criminal attacks. And we also have then criminal attacks that basically form, or if you check the percentage, is higher than the errors that are made by humans, and also the system issues that can actually be experienced. Okay, next slide. Okay, so in this slide here, I'm just trying to show, um, okay. So I'm just trying to show some of the terminologies, obviously, of the uh, cyber cybersecurity. Okay, apologies, I don't have a nice background at the back. So unless if maybe, okay, so let me just, okay. Because maybe you're probably asking yourself, the presenter, the vice president who can't be seen. So apologies, so I'm just in transit where I'm at. That's why I couldn't actually get that earlier. So in terms of cybersecurity terminology, for those of you, I know internal auditors, so you are now, they say these days, we basically audit at the speed of risk. I'm also hoping that you are now, or you have embraced even technology when it comes to auditing, when it comes to doing our work, because I've seen in many audits where you find that the auditors who are assurance auditors, they end up supporting or providing an integrated audit where they do IT assurance. But just to cut the story short, intrusion detection, obviously I have it here. It's basically the process and methods for analyzing information from networks and also information system in order to determine if basically there's a security breach or has occurred. So this is a detection mechanism. It doesn't prevent. It just detects that it's just an alert that obviously assist obviously in terms of the control and even monitoring. And exploit is just a malicious application or script that can be used to take advantage of computer's vulnerability. So this will basically also assist you to have an understanding when you see this kind of script or when you see activities in your I'm sure probably some of you might have heard or get exposed to some scripts that are used in order to compromise the organization. Malware, it includes your viruses, your Trojan worms, your Trojans, worms, and also ransomware. Ne? It's basically any form of malicious software that is basically meant to compromise or cause serious problem on your computer. A breach is just any incidents that results in unauthorized access, obviously, of data, application services, networks, and devices by basically making sure that those controls that are supposed to be there, the security controls, are bypassed. So it's very important in an organization that they are controls are kept up to date or also current to ensure that they basically don't actually bypassed. So there are various ways, obviously, organization look at it in that way. Then maybe to continue to the next slide. Sorry, I forgot that I can't. I don't have power to change. So ransomware, we know obviously there's been a lot of ransomware. It's basically some sort of a malware that prevents one from accessing file on your computer by holding the data hostage. You might have had many incidents within various organizations where the data is held actually hostages until often if you basically give these guys money, then then they'll be able to release your data. So it's also important that as organization, you are basically aware of this to ensure that whenever it happens, you are able to operate or maybe have a effective backup and restoration and recovery process in place in that regard. So you've got other ones, which is your bot, your type of software, application or script that perform the task on a command, allowing an attacker to take complete control of the affected computer. And there's a denial service attack. I'm sure you know about it in terms of the attacks that are basically sent to, or requests that can actually be sent to a website or flood the website in order to ensure that there is traffic, and there's also requests from multiple sources. That phishing is just a technique that is used by hackers to obtain sensitive information using an handcrafted email designed to trick people. You have been exposed to this kind of a trick where you get an email, either I think mostly these West African emails where you've being told that you want a price. So these are just to highlight, can go to the next slide, just to highlight some terminology that in terms of cybersecurity, one needs to be aware of in order for you to have an understanding. I know it might be a bit of an overload for now, but if you just use your time and also have an understanding of that, it will assist you in order to deal with some of the issues that can be expressed in that regard. So with basically cyber attacks, it's not if, but when a cyber attacks will occur against, if let's say from your organization, so you need to basically ensure that as obviously internal auditors, as organization, you are able to manage or mitigate cyber attacks through what you can actually perform, which is your cyber assurance reviews, and actually also being involved with other third parties, with other parties within the organization, like a first line of defense and also second line of defense. So cyber attacks, it basically target any organization, irrespective, obviously, of the size and also individual. And every organization has information that is meaningful to cyber attacks. And then from them, these are some of the attacks overview that I've listed here, that these guys can install stuff into your devices where they can steal that information. They can exploit your credentials. They can obtain your credentials. They can do intrusion. They can intrude your systems in that way. And also there is what is called maintaining persistence, where they ensure that they basically acquire data. So these are some of the ways in which cyber attacks can actually occur within your organization. So go to the next. And then cyber attacks overview, I think from here, what I want to try and actually show to you that in terms of responsibility of cyber attacks is basically cyber protection against the in an organization is the responsibility of basically of everyone. It's not basically residing only within the operation. So everyone in the organization must basically be wary, obviously, of that. So this includes basically system failures or disruption that one can experience. You can also see sometimes that there is suspicious emails. So if you see those things, then you just know that no, there is a problem or unauthorized use. Obviously, this speaks to roles and responsibility within the organization. And there can be some basically unauthorized access to the system and facilities, and also changes that does not follow the proper change process. And often you can also get some communication or send very or weird questions. So so it just shows that obviously when you have that, when you see those different behaviors, you just need to follow the right process to basically inform. So I'm just trying to offer you some basics around cybersecurity because it affects organization and also people. So I think from there, I've listed how do threat attackers compromise the system. So we have touched on this, like phishing, social engineering, the malicious malware or malicious software and viruses. If you don't patch your systems, you don't patch or you've got an outdated or vulnerable system, then that can also be a weakest link. And then the default passwords are also can be a way obviously of one getting compromised. There are those that are more technically that uses technical methods like SQL injection, cross-scripting in order to compromise the organization. So these are some of the ways in which organization can be compromised. Can we go to the next slide? So I think you can see that the top industries in social breaches, you can see that in terms of the public, it's very high, and also the healthcare. So almost every entities or even business functions or they basically or business they somehow are exposed to breaches. And you can see that in terms of its of that, so it can be from personal secrets, internal credentials, medical, or any type of data that is actually important to the attackers. I think can go to the next slide. So it's very important that one ensure that they protect themselves from the organization perspective. So I have been looking at it from the organization perspective because organization, there's many parties that basically are involved. So then from individual perspective, I know our previous speaker, they did touch on it, which is basically mostly about how can one stay safe online. So can you go to the next slide? So I'll also be looking at that. So maybe move to the next slide. Okay, I think we've looked at cybersecurity, what cybersecurity is basically about. Né? So why cybersecurity is very important? So cybersecurity is basically very important or essential for even individuals as well as organizations, obviously of all sizes, in order to maintain the same thing, which is protect your personal data, your financial data, and sensitive information. So you need to implement cybersecurity or best practice in order to actually ensure that. So there are some frameworks that are there for cybersecurity. I'm sure those that are very close to cybersecurity, well, they will know that there's a NIST framework. It's NIST framework, even anyone else can actually read about it. I do believe that there are some assurance that even a normal internal auditor can actually do by just going through the NIST framework. Maybe if you've got time, you must actually look into it and try and understand. It will assist you in ensuring that from cybersecurity controls are actually enforced. But for government and also private entities, developing and implementing a tailored cybersecurity plans and process is also key in order to ensure that you protect and maintain the business operations. So imagine if you've got an organization that does not have effective cyber security controls, then it can also affect you as an organization where you might be compromised and you not be able to operate. And as you know that with a business or any business, for us to make returns or money, we need to be operating, and therefore we need to make sure that there is no interruptions, and systems and application and also our businesses are always up all the time. Next slide. So there are some ways in which one can basically stay safe online. So I know these are emphasized everywhere, but often we tend to just ignore them because we think it's just the basic knowledge for everyone, or often we even not take them seriously. You can use strong passwords. Strong passwords is very necessary. It's no longer necessary. It's not important, because back in the days, I think when okay, maybe you can stay in the slide that you are, the previous one. Okay, so you can use strong passwords. I think the previous speaker touched on it. And the other important part is to turn multi-factor authentication. That is basically to ensure that you don't actually get compromised. I'm sure you know where the message can be sent to your computer or and even through your other devices like your mobile devices, and also recognize and report phishing attacks. Often when we see these attacks, we just look and also ignore. So at times, I think it's very important that we need to report them. This will actually ensure that other people are aware who that are not even aware. And updates, the updates of the software is also very important, because often you get those notifications, but you tend to just ignore those updates and continue focusing on what you're doing. Next slide. So the use of strong passwords, we know about the use of strong passwords, that it's nicer to have a strong password that basically, according to the best practice, where you don't have a password maybe based on your favorite pet or your date of birth or even the name of your mom. So you need to make sure that your password is actually very strong. It's got both upper and lowercase letters, the numbers, special special characters, etc., to make sure that the password it is actually very strong. And I do believe and know that in terms of the policies of many organizations, you need to also enforce that the password is never reused. Probably, I think in most of these policies, you can also reuse the password probably after a certain period. So that actually ensures that your password is actually very strong, because if you go and reuse the same password, it won't actually allow you to do that. So it's very important that you create a very strong password. Next slide. So turning off multi-factor authentication, we know that that with a multi-factor authentication, a message gets sent to your phone or email, or you can also use an authenticator app and even a security key. So it's also important that you use that, and that also biometric and fingerprint, biometric technology, which is fingerprint and facial recognition, that one uses. But I know most people will say that, hey, maybe when I'm sleeping, my partner can basically come and open my gadget. So, but those are some of the critical controls that you need to have in place to ensure that you are actually safe online. Next slide. Okay, so turning on multi-factor authentication. Where should you use it? So you can actually use it obviously in email. In email, I think most organizations are using it, so it's very important also using email. I think even Microsoft emails, Outlook, or Microsoft emails, and even other emails platform, they basically use multi-factor authentication, where you get those notifications via an app and even through those SMS. Accounts with financial information, it's very important, and also accounts with personal information like social media. So this is basically a way to go to ensure that you are secure or your data is secure online. So with phishing, recognizing and reporting phishing, I think I did touch on it. So there are some red flags that you probably have used, you are now probably accustomed to, that you need to be wary of and ensure that you don't fall threat to these attackers or hackers or these cyber criminals. So a tone that that's a general makes you scared. I've just listed an example of these are some of the example where you can see that someone sent an email or a sender email address doesn't actually match the company's ones. If you check mostly in these emails, you can see that no, there's something that funny, but normally those emails or even the website that gets cloned, it will look exactly the same as the one that's actually one is used to. And unexpected communication such as email you weren't expecting. So these are some of the signs or red flags that one should actually be wary of. And requesting to send personal information. I'm sure we have seen this information where emails or even SMS where we are requested to send some information that's critical to us. So those are some of those red flags that one needs to think of once you get exposed to such. Misspell of words, bad grammar. Audio error can also be a sign, obviously, of actually phishing. So you must be aware that AI will make, so people are now using AI to basically compromise people. And I think I've seen it where, I'm sure you've seen where there's a personification of a person. When you look at that, you'll actually think it is exactly that person when it's actually not, when it's actually not that particular person. So it's actually very important that we make sure that it's those that access systems or that have access, then we are able to. Okay, I wanted to change my background. Okay, it's fine. So we're able to ensure that we are safe in that platform. So there are some of them, the do's and also the don'ts that you need to actually adhere to in terms of ensuring that you are actually protected or you are safe online. So you just mustn't just click on any links that you don't trust. Then don't just click on anything that actually gets sent to you. So, and don't also click on any attachment that you are not expecting or recognizing. I know organizations run they run what you call the phishing click rate, where they try to test or to see if employees can be aware or they can be compromised through sending an email. So I think those kind of activities can also assist in order to ensure that it safeguards everyone actually online, and don't send any personal info online or share over the phone. So I think those are just some of the straightforward that you need to make sure that you don't do. So then in terms of what you can do, you must verify that communication is real and contact sender directly through the known phone numbers or even emails. I know, but for those sensitive activities that one has to do, so you often have to basically reach out to that party. I want to make an example because it's actually related to something that I've done in my other work, where before you confirm an entrance of certain individuals, you basically need to go to their profile and you give them a call and also check from if they're within the radius where they're supposed to. And you report it to your IT department. Okay, you must also report to the IT department email or even phone the provider. So those are the ways in which obviously one can actually ensure that if there are activities that you see that they don't look normal, so then you follow that, and you can also use email filters. So many email filter services have filters that can help you prevent many phishing messages from even reaching your employees' mailboxes. So I'm sure most organizations, based on their policies, they have got these email filters. So in order to make sure that you are safe online, So you must also enforce these filters that will actually ensure that those emails that look suspicious, they are actually blocked. It can only be released as and when it's allowed, and this will be based on the policy. Can you go to the next slide? So it is very important that you update your software, because when you updates ensures that the devices and apps are protected from any threats that actually come along. If you don't update your systems, it can actually be prone or to any compromise. And you must also don't click remind me later when you get those messages about updating your software. You must just make sure that you update, and automated updates are the easiest way to stay secure. So maybe perhaps if you think it's necessary, you must just make sure that you enforce automatic updates that automatically will be scheduled in your devices to make sure that you stay up to date in terms of your only way in which you can be compromised through outdated patches and also latest. Okay. So then the next one, I think this is just a straightforward one. Where do you find available? Find our updates. So there are some notifications that are sent to your phone. You can also look into your phone, the browser and app settings. I've actually shown here in terms of the screen where some of this can actually be found depending on the device that you use. And you check the upper corner of your browser for any alerts. So I'm sure all of us, we have seen those, but we often very ignore them. So it is actually very important that you check that. Next slide. Okay, so these are some of the additional resources that one can look at that can actually assist you to make sure that you are secure and safe from compromise. ISACA has got some that you can actually look at in terms of reporting the cyber issues, security by design. Then you can also look at the CISA YouTube channel. So, but going to ISACA obviously will assist you to access these different data that we have or resources within isaka.org, where you'll have access to some of these ones. And then there are resources and also some guides and videos and on-demand webinars that one can actually look at. So I think that's basically my presentation. And in terms of that, I believe that as professionals, we need to be tech savvy. That will actually assist us in managing our environments. And while we are tech savvy, we don't compromise ourselves. We also don't compromise those that are close to us, organization, and even from personal point of view. So it is very important that we're aware that who are the criminals that are always out there seeking or looking for data. So with that said, I thank you. I don't know if there's any question that I need to address.
Wow, that was a mouthful. Thank you very much, Vice President. Yeah, let's give him a round of applause. Really, now we are empowered. I'm quite sure now that after this presentation, one should be able to go back and relook on some of the key issues. I think I will then allow both speakers. I think it's time for Q&A. I only see a few on the chat box. Maybe my colleagues will assist me. But the first one, I think this one will be, let's then allow Dr. Ranga as well to respond to the first one. I think it's more on the question from Matlubi Nkosi. She's asking, is it safe, Dr. Ranga, to save my password details on the browser? I think Dr. Ranga, please assist. I think the second question will be for the Vice President. Dr. Ranga, could you assist on that first question? Is it safe to save the password on the browser?
A big no, it's not safe. Saving it on the browser is just the same way as that scenario that I gave, whereby someone sticks it to their office door, because we don't have control over what happens with the browser. And if someone just gets hold of that information, then if someone gets hold of your laptop, they have all the passwords saved, meaning they have access to everything. So it is really discouraged to save passwords on your browser. Of course, we all do it. I also fall prey to that sometimes, because you'll be thinking, do I have to type it? But for security reasons and for good security behavior, let's avoid saving passwords on the website.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I think, Vice President, your question will be still from Ms. Nkosi. She's asking, what are the consequences of data breach for individuals and organizations? Are there any consequences if there was any data breach?
Yes, I think for the consequences for for individuals for data breaches, it can actually be meant where there are consequences that can also lead to particular employees to basically be fired. But other organizations, especially if you work for financial services, there is what is called the red listing, and you don't want to be in that. And for organizations, with regard to data breach, I think with SARS, not Reserve Bank, apologies, there are organizations, if they don't actually comply in that regard, especially the insurance ones, just to make an example, where there can be penalties for that, but mostly this is enforced in the private sector, where there is actually a penalty. Most of the banks, financial services, they need to adhere to the Prudential Authority regulations. So often they basically can actually be fined if they're not actually in compliance. But the other important part that we see happening, which we think it's very necessary, especially as professionals and professional bodies, with the public services in terms of consequence management in that regard. There's nothing that's really binding them in that regard. So I think organizations like IIA and many other professional bodies need to look to ensure that even the public services, there is consequence management when it comes to individuals and obviously organizational breach. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I think the last one was I think it's for both of you. And how can I ensure that the personal data is deleted from the website and the service? And let's start with Mubango. How can we best ensure that the personal data is deleted?
Okay. No, I think everything starts or is guided by your guiding principles, which is your policy and also standard. So that actually depends on the organizations that obviously have got your data. And with POPI, where you need to provide actual consent for your data to basically be provisioned to other stakeholders. So if the data can also be put in the personal data can be in the website without your consent, that also obviously speaks to a breach. And also in that regard, it can also result in that organization having some consequence management enforcing them. So in order to ensure that the personal data is deleted from the websites and also services, I think as organizations, and then they need to basically follow the same process that auditors normally follow, which is basically, I'm sure you know about whitelisting obviously of data. So, and also ensuring that when it comes to data, it must follow data classifications where information that is not supposed to be on the public domain shouldn't be in the public domain. But as I've indicated, that everything is guided by the your guiding principle, which is the operational standard. So if you enforce that, then you can implement it through that to ensure that websites and also services, there's no personal data that are actually enforced or that are basically have been added there.
Yeah, thank you very much. Is there any addition, Dr. Ranga, or maybe there's another question specific to you, Dr. Ranga. What are the risks of using outdated software? I think it cuts across both of you. Dr. Ranga, can you take us through that question on the risk if you're using an outdated software?
Okay. I'll just give in terms of, before I get to that, in terms of also making sure that your data is not there on the websites. On a personal side, once in a while, delete your browsing history. I typed that in the chat box. Delete unused accounts from your device. Don't accept all cookies. We just click accept cookies so that we go to the next, but we don't know what we're accepting. So avoid such. And the danger of using, or the risk of using outdated software is, okay, I'll just use Microsoft, for example. Whenever a software comes, it also comes with some security features that comes with it. And there are updates that come maybe once a week or once a month. And if your if your software is now outdated, it means you're not protected from any vulnerability that comes. It's just like you walking around with a car, and this car, the window's not working. I mean, rain could come in, thieves, when you park it outside, thieves can. So there's nothing protecting you, because obviously when a software is outdated, the service provider or the vendor stops to support it in terms of protection, in terms of antiviruses, in terms of any malicious attack that might happen to it. So you might be having a software, yes, but it can actually become your point of attack if it's outdated. So yeah, there is high risk. Even organizations, there are some that are still using Windows 2005, and that's the reason why they're being attacked by these cyber criminals.
Thank you very much, Doc. Maybe also on a follow-up, now that you are saying that I must update the software now and again, maybe for example, a cell phone, I need to update the apps. Can I then use the free Wi-Fi on the public space?
No, but I'll allow Mr. Mvango to talk more in terms of the updates, because that's what he covered also in his presentation. But don't use the free Wi-Fi. At least your work Wi-Fi can work, or your home Wi-Fi. But accepting updates on an open Wi-Fi, remember we say don't avoid using public Wi-Fis. So yeah, but I'll allow Mr. Mvango to also touch on that.
Mbango, over to you.
Okay, so apologies. I think I might have missed the question. Is it still there? What are the risks of using outdated software?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And there was a
So,
follow-up to say,
yeah.
sorry, there was a follow-up to say, can I then update using open Wi-Fi, since the data the update might be like 500 megabytes or 300. I don't have that in my phone. Can I use a public
Yeah,
Wi-Fi there?
see. I think that's what we're talking about, or that I presented on, that also you need to be vigilant, because if you can just allow yourself to just go to this open environment and update, you might be prone to compromise or even attacks. So I would not actually suggest it for for us to actually use. So let's basically update according, but avoiding to use the open or free Wi-Fi, as I think my colleagues Ranga Doctor has actually indicated, because I think it's very important that we need to be able to trace where the data that we are accessing is coming from, because if we are not able to have that view, we might be obtaining data that's coming from an area where we're thinking that probably it's coming from a certain update or security organization, while it's actually not coming from there.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to check whether is there any questions, and I don't see any. I think we're already over in terms of time. I think we'll then maybe allow Unathi to go on to the next item in the agenda. Okay, I think from our side, we want to appreciate you and thank you for providing us. We thought it wouldn't be a 1 hour, but went beyond because of this important day. Otherwise, we're saying happy Public Interest Day and happy Internal Audit Awareness Month and happy Africa Day for tomorrow. And on that note, thank you and then goodbye.